Hello everyone. Okay, so today we are going to begin our demands for equality and justice topic, and we are going to complete this topic. But before that, what I want to do is tell you that we have to cover some short captions and short information among these boxes: who could produce shoes, and law against child marriage. So these are some important ones. So we have to take a short look of it over them. Okay, so law against child marriage. In this whole paragraph, the most important thing is that in 1929, Child Marriage Restraint Act was passed. Basically, in the earlier times when all this happening, reforming was happening, Indian social society reforming was happening. So people were like, if women are educated, widows are getting the opportunity to remarry, and sati practice is banned, and people are getting better and better. So at that time, people thought, why should not we stop child marriage also, because that is also not a good thing. So for that thing, this Central Legislative Assembly, Indian legislators in the Central Legislative Assembly who fought to make a law preventing child marriage, in 1929 the Child Restraint Act was passed. Okay, and at that time there was no bitter debates about this, because there was nothing and struggles that earlier laws had seen. Because if we talk about sati practice, a lot of people opposed it. If we talk about widow remarriage, a lot of people, even maximum of Indians, opposed it, and a few Indians, minimum, if we compare the ratio is less who agreed with sati practice or who agreed with the widow remarriage. Okay, otherwise all others were disputed with this. But this child marriage restraint act, it was so easy to make this act, because no one was worrying about it, and no one opposed it without any bitter debates. It just happened. Okay, so at that time, in this child marriage restraint act, the minimum age limit for marriage was considered, for men it was 18, and for women it was 16. Okay, but later on it subsequently raised to men's minimum limit of marriage is 21, and women became 18. Okay, so this was all in this para, or in box. Now let's get to this caption. Basically, this is a ship, a coolie ship. In this picture, figure 9 is showing a coolie ship of 19th century. Its name was John Allen. Okay, here you see John Allen, and we have studied in this paragraph, in this side topic, that Mauritius, Trinidad, and Indonesia, laborers were sent to these places for plantations, to work in the plantations, right? So this coolie ship is basically transferring laborers to Mauritius, where they will do a lot of work and hard work, and most of these laborers were from low caste. Okay, most of these from belongs to low caste. Let's get to the next. Who could produce shoes? So in this whole, the important stuff which can come in your exam is madigas. This whole is not that important compared to this short caption. Okay, so basically madigas were an important untouchable caste of present day Andhra Pradesh. We know madigas. Okay, so in present day Andhra Pradesh state, in that state, madigas was an important untouchable caste. Why? Because it is used to cleaning hides, tanning them for use, and sewing sandals. Means they are basically used to do the leather works. The leather, they used to make leather slippers, leather shoes, and clean the hides and all stuff. So basically, why they were untouchables? Because this job of leather work was considered in the earlier times as a dirty and polluting job. So people don't touch them, or they become untouchables for them. So but in the first world time, when the first world war came, at that time there was a huge demand of what? Leather shoes for the soldiers. Okay, so that leather shoes for the soldiers thing, at that time, what happened, that Britishers wanted a lot of shoes, leather shoes, for their soldiers to fight in the war, and Madiga's caste took the responsibility to make the leather shoes constantly and to fulfill their demands, so they could ask for high prices and so that they could gain high prices and gave impressive profits. Okay, so this was in this part. Let's get to our main thing, demands for equality and justice. So basically, slowly by the second half of 19th century, that means 1815, around 1815 time period, a lot of non-Brahmins were organizing movements. So what were these movements? Basically, here, if you see, there are in this paragraph, there's a lot of information about the movements, who made these movements, and who for what purpose were these movements and where these movements held. Okay, so first comes Satnami movement. Satnami movement in central India was founded by Ghazidas. Okay, this Satnami movement was founded by Ghazidas, who and it was in the central India, means it was in the northern part of India here, or you can say this Madhya Pradesh area. Okay, so this movement was to raise the social status of leather workers. What was the purpose of Satnami movement? To raise the social status of leather workers. Okay, so this was all about Satnami movement, right? There are no dates, and it is a very good thing that we are not here, we are not getting a lot of dates in this paragraph, because it is just telling that this movement held here. But yeah, it is important. Let's get to the Eastern Bengal. Basically, if you see that in the earlier times, Bangladesh was also considered as in India. Here you see that this is our here that this is our West Bengal, right? And this area of Bangladesh was considered as East Bengal. So in this East Bengal, Thakur Matua sect. Here you see Haridas Thakur's Matua sect. Haridas Thakur was a person whose Matua sect worked among Chandala cultivators. So Chandala cultivators were the cultivators of earlier times, and Haridas Thakur Matua sect worked among these. So in the Eastern Bengal, Haridas questioned Brahmanical texts that supported caste system. In what present day Kerala, a guru from Ezhava caste. So Haridas was the one person who questioned that about Brahmanical texts, okay, that supported caste system. How can it be done by Brahmins? So this was about in this paragraph about Haridas Thakur. Now let's get to the next, that in what present day Kerala a guru from Ezhava caste, Sri Narayana Guru proclaimed the ideals of unity for his people. He argued against treating people unequally on the basis of caste differences. According to him, all humankind. Basically, this is a person of Sri Narayana Guru. He proclaimed that ideals for unity for his people. He argued against treating people unequally on the basis of caste differences. According to him, all the humankind. For according to him, each and every human belong to same caste and belongs to same caste. Okay, and he has given his statement, a very popular statement, that Oru Jati, Oru Matam, Oru Daivam Manushanyam. That means one caste, one religion, one God for humankind. Okay, so this was in this about Sri Narayana Guru, and he belongs to Ezhava caste, and it is he belongs from Kerala. Okay, all these sects were founded by leaders who came from non-Brahman castes and worked amongst them. They tried to change those habits and practices which provoked the contempt of dominant castes that they tried to create a sense of self-esteem among the subordinate castes. Okay, so basically these non-Brahman castes were what they were doing. They were trying their best to raise their self-esteem and just to change those habits and practices which can provoke the contempt, which can make the dominant castes feel that they are dominant or they are higher than them. So they also may raise their self-esteem among their subordinate castes. So this was all in this para. I hope you got it. In the next video we are going to cover Gulamgiri, and that was it. If you have any kind of question, doubt, please mention in the comment section. I will definitely answer. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.